be so insanely explosive. T1 by far the most aggressive team that we have in the LCK. Going up against TES.
If it's a buffet, the team fights are the crab legs, and I'm hoping we're going to get some incredible ones. You can already see the bans,
there
two high priority picks, the Yone, the Aurora, both taken away by T1. TES on blue side get the luxury of a bit more target banning.
So then we drop down, because this is definitely expected from T1 to double ban these, but the Sylas and the Ahri are both champions that are very high priority for both Cream and Faker here at Worlds after the little bit of meta change. So we'll see where they go and trade back here for the Rumble pick.
So the Rumble actually coming out, denying it from Zeus, does mean that they're going to forgo the Jax, which we've seen a lot, and the Sylas, which, as we saw in yesterday's series, has basically become absolute top-tier, blindable mid laner this far into the tournament.
And even though Cream is a very good Ahri, Sylas just seems now like it turns into a more tanky Ahri as the game goes on, constantly stealing away that ult. So we'll see if they even do respond with that pick in the end for the counter. Meanwhile, T1, still one more pick for jungle. I would expect something like a Vi. Owner's Vi has been amazing. The Sejuani is still up, and Vi is banned. So Sejuani here with the melee synergy for those stuns is kind of the next best thing to slot in.
Certainly that already makes that top lane matchup feel a little bit more volatile, knowing that jungler can turn his attention topside. Of course, Vi, Skarner taken off the board, makes Sejuani the next logical choice for these tanky jungle options. The question is, Tian, ball's now in his court. What is he going to pick? What is he going to bring out? Amumu, you know, I feel like Inspired bringing it to the world, and the world happy to have it in so many of these tense teamfight scenarios. Instead, the Ivern, the supportive option, now paired alongside the Tristana, a throwback to meta's past.
As good as Cream's Tristana was, I think at MSI, probably the most iconic Tristana play of the tournament when he knocked one member into the other and they exploded. I gotta say, this feels like a throwback, and it's not a throwback that's been very successful thus far.
I would like to see another like double AD carry with Ivern comp succeed though. You know, they already have their Rumble for AP damage, so you expect the second AD carry to come in, and then Mako to lead the charge, round out the comp with, you know, one of those engage supports for him. So TES comp seems pretty locked in at this moment, and it's up to T1 to try and ban away the strongest components of what they see coming.
Banning away the Ezreal, knowing that they don't want to give another safe AD option, knowing that for the Camille and Sylas to be successful, they need a target that they can lock down. Tristana, obviously, with the rocket jump, with the input buffer, can be relatively safe. But what AD carry option do you pair? Now, TES, kind of the originators of what I'm going to call Jhin propaganda. With that single Jackie Love game where the static shift took over and we all thought, this is insane. It's been a letdown since then. But will they bring it back out here against T1?
I do feel so, and not only that, Guma, as we know, also loves the pick. So I wouldn't even be surprised when you pair it with this amount of dive, just having an AD carry that can stand in the back, still provide support and additional setup would really fit with the style that T1 loves to play. On the flip side, we often talk about what is a good Jhin game. When you have the Rumble and what I assume will be an engage support for Mako, the lockdown and combo potential is definitely there.
Debating now what T1 want to pick on 4 here. So far matched in roles, unless Tristana is going to end up flex to the bot lane, but does seem unlikely. Are they willing to just blind pick their AD? Does seem the logical choice. Keria, notoriously, at every tournament we've ever seen him in, a menace with that red 5 counter pick.
Oh, that's
Caitlyn,
a blind.
And the implication now is that maybe a Lux could follow, something crazy could follow, because Caitlyn and range supports just go together so well.
It does make a lot of sense to try and get the tower pushing power of a double range Caitlyn lane here for Guma and Keria, regardless what the follow-up is going to be. Like that early game plan to take down towers, open up space for the Camille and Sylas to work. See what the answer is here. Into a Caitlyn lane, trying to deal with what you know is going to be hard pushing.
Potentially just giving a bit more space for them to debate on what AD they want to go with, as the Leona is locked in. Now, incredible combo in the team fight from either side, to be honest, and especially now with the Leona locked in. Sylas's choice of ultimates is decent in the context of this game. Nothing crazy, no Alistairs, of course. MF is the final pick. TES reliant on absorbing that initial engage from the T1 topside, turning the fight back in their favor. The Kai'Sa would be a much more flexible pick, but wouldn't pack as much of a punch in terms of upfront cooldowns.
I wouldn't have minded. I think the MF has really struggled. You're also pairing it with the Leona, not the Rel. I think AoE CC is such a big part of what can make the champion work. And pre-nerfs, I think the laning phase for MF was so oppressive that you can see you go, and obviously there might be a lane swap situation, but even then, that it made a lot of sense to pick it just as a power pick. I don't really feel like we've reached that status and what we've seen, that level of performance from the champion thus far here at Worlds. A lot of team fighting power.
And the bar from Keria. And we talked about, as we speculated, we said, hey, is there room for Keria to continue to innovate on what had been a pretty locked-in meta in terms of engaged supports? The Bard coming in here against highly immobile champions. Yes, the Tristana can get out of a lot of sticky situations. The rest of the members of this TES lineup super vulnerable to that tempered fate.
And the Bard goes a long way with helping out the attempted side lane play that we do expect from this side, Camille and Silas here. It actually puts so much threat here behind it because you're constantly roaming around looking for these ultimates to burn people's flashes and make them more vulnerable targets for Zeus Camille to trap people down and look for picks.
Looking at what TES have drafted here, the way they won that first game against T1 was by absorbing the initial blow and then counter-engaging. And I think that this comp does this insanely well. You have a lot of AoE damage, meaning that your choke point control is going to be really strong, and the Ivern adds on top of that. And for T1, this is nothing but comfort.
Certainly is. It's a good thing you bring up that first game because in the beginning of that game, T1 had a really strong lane swap. They actually caught 369, got a first blood on them, and had a very big early lead in the game.
Additionally, T1 are set up once again to have a pretty strong level 1 overall. Bard level 1, basically 2 abilities between the passive and most likely the Cosmic Binding. Can allow them to get aggressive, maybe contest if they do want to go for the lane swap. And when you look at T1, one of the best teams we've seen in executing and finding leads in these early games, so wouldn't be surprised to see them be the ones who pulled the trigger. But at the same time, Caitlyn, Bard, and the 2v2, they're kind of happy either way it goes. Game 1. A deep breath before we get into it. We need Paris come alive. Level 1 will tell us so much about how T1 want to leverage their bot lane power. See how TES navigate if they've found new innovations since the last time these two teams played.
Moment of respite before what I am very certain will be an explosive series, one way or another. Thus far, looks like both lanes happy to slot towards standard lanes. Not locked in yet until we get a little bit closer, but right now, neither bot lane moving positions, just holding the vision in his level 1.
And because this might be the last chance you have to be fully on your seat and not the edge of it, I'd be remiss if I didn't say to remember to log into your Riot Games account on lowesports.com and watch Worlds live during exclusive Worlds, emotes, icons, capsules, free stuff for watching. You're going to do it anyway. And this might be the only minute where someone's not killing somebody else, so take a chance, log in, watch, and we'll see where the lanes are going to go. Because this 2v2, I'm going to tell you right now, is going to be very difficult. But now you have a little bit more time, tragically.
Nice.
We'll give you more context on the pause, of course, as we get more information here at the caster desk. In the meantime, no lane swap.
So log into your Riot account? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, log into the Riot account.
That's what this is for?
This is not a scheduled pause, I promise you that much. Hopefully, I think yesterday we had one small peripheral issue, quick resolution. We'll hope for the same today.
So it is interesting here. We're going to have, we at the least know that Owner is going to start on the top side of the map and will actually be pathing away from those double melee solo laners that you look for in the beginning of their champ select with the Sejuani kind of synergy pairing, and trying to look to cover this Caitlyn Bard in their attempts to pressure and push in the enemy lanes, try and deny CS, try and chip away at tower plates. You always are trying to push very early on here and generate some tower plate money with that combination for T1.
Confirming it is a T1 pause. We are getting ready checks in game. So we'll see if we're able to get that back on your screen shortly when the players do eventually resume. And I think the big thing to keep in mind is it's been a long time since we've seen these kind of bot lanes, but we got used to the 2 range versus 2 range for so long. But the important thing in this 1 range, 1 melee when you have this engaged support is if T1's bot lane, as you mentioned, falls behind, loses flashes early, this lane gets so incredibly hard to play because yes, MF is nerfed, yes, Bloodthirster is nerfed, but if she gets an early BT, all of Caitlyn's poke, all of that harass becomes immediately meaningless.
Also, as mentioned, the Tristana, I don't think the pick has looked that good yet at the tournament, but when you think about what should be good into Silas, 80 carries makes sense, something that can really bully him early on and try to make sure that he doesn't just get a free ride to level 6 when the champion really comes online. And the early trades here going to be big for how this lane goes, as we do have Tien setting up his jungle on a diver.
Yeah, Guma and Keria, always the ones really pushing the double range meta for bottom lane. Thinking back to last year and the amount of success they got with it. So far, though,
Zeus early level 2 means he's able to take control of the lane, tack sweep, and the hookshot wall dive. 369 smartly waiting out the adaptive defenses, but this is, of course, where Rumble was nerfed, is that level 1 point. The Flamespitter are just going to do a lot less work, as we see a bit of an all-in here on the bottom side. TES not going to overcommit. They did get the level 2, but don't want to use too many resources.
And look at that, the Sejuani already. You see Owner on the mini-map actually heading up. Owner's just done the 3 camps, and he's dropping.
Immediately going to get the cleanse out from Guma. Keria trying to trade back. Will get cleanse for cleanse in the end. Is again, Owner on the top side. He's going to run straight into TN. TN level 3, red buff. Locked up, Owner not going to follow, forcing out the early flash. And now contesting this blue buff. It's going to be big. TN does have access to his flash, however. Or excuse me, smite.
No way for him to move up, though, because Zeus with that prio ensures that Owner gets the buff.
Yeah, I mean, he wants to go in there and touch the blue buff, but there's nothing he can do without his flash and so much HP already taken. It's just really smart from Owner.
Trying to keep this pressure up. Oh! Flash in! The full commit. Faker can now follow as well. They've got the stun to follow, but Cream locked up. They don't quite have it on the permafrost. Owner out of range, perhaps.
Zeus with the flash there to land the stun, but Cream still survives.
That's big, though. That's a really heavy investment from T1. Zeus spending a lot of time, 2 flashes, and they don't actually get the kill.
But Zeus actually, I mean, because he had been able to push in so early and crash the wave, it's bouncing back to him. So able to use that timing window, able to allow Owner to go for the first play onto Tien, then able to make the pass there through mid. In the end, you've got 2 flashes used from the side of T1. 2 flashes used from the side of TES.
And while all of that action was happening, Guma cleansed, Keria healed, and Jackie used his cleanse as well. And we did see a couple of those trades towards the bot lane, but as expected, both of these players, or all 4 of these players, are trying to get an early lead. Both these lanes can feel really snowbally as Tien looking to make an impact.
These are not the players or the teams to sit there and scale quietly. If there is an angle, there's a way they can find an advantage, they will fight for it, and it won't end up costing them here. While they did have Tien standing behind them, hovering in the bottom side, T1 won't going to step too far forward as the recall does come through. Owner also hovering, ready for the counter again, because resets for both junglers. Tien a little bit ahead of the curve. And Zeus, of course, used the pressure that he had well, but it does give up a bit that he had to spend so much time away from top lane. 369 now really just trying to crash this wave.
I think it was just so smart planning there from T1, where Owner goes over, plays off the pushing Camille there. Zeus really nice, taking advantage of the level advantage for the big chunk and moving in, but bottom
Excellent
side.
even played, stun fall. There's no cleanse available for Guma, but he has a portal waiting behind him. Ignite is there, trying to get a bit more damage down. Forced to flash out.
And we're seeing the junglers actually flash on the Raptors here as Tien is trying to get his channels off, but there's no way you can channel with T1 members in your face.
Such a difficult situation to be in. Cream playing with a lot of confidence here, but the sustain
Keria
from Silent is decent. Keria on the way up. Drops a little health back to keep Faker standing. But Tien, that's a flashless Ivern. Oh, he's going to get taken down. A little bit extra healing for the level up, but it's first blood for Faker.
Oh, in these plays! TES had been winning small advantages. Summoner spell off of Gumi. They get the flash on bottom side. Then summoner spell here off of Faker, but they lose the first blood. The roam up from Keria.
Keria being the difference maker on this Bard. One of the biggest strengths of this champion is his rotational speed. Can get so quick from lane to lane. And it ends up being the big difference maker here as he gets spotted walking back, trying to steal those Raptors on a ward.
He put up the brush there to get some vision for himself, but then there's no way you can finish that channel as Owner came over the wall. And Faker here does have to blow his flash after going for this trade onto Cream. But then once Keria arrives, Owner's able to pinch onto Tien, and because of the early invade that they played off of Zeus's pushing Camille, there was no flash on the Ivern, and they do cash in on the first blood. Let's get back to live though, because the Grubs as well are being taken.
T1 reset, looks like they were able to get first setup on Grub, shifting their bot lane up towards the top side of the map. And again, we're seeing a very similar story to the first time these teams played this tournament. T1, incremental advantages, death by 1,000 cuts in the early game as they continue to take a little bit here, a little bit there. Now a kill, some summoner spell cooldowns, and the Grubs as well.
And it was the flashless Cream that I think also couldn't play as aggressive as otherwise he could have if he did have that summoner available. And the kill also went over to Faker. Of all people in that play involved, definitely the best one. Zeus might be in some trouble here.
Has the hookshot on the wall dive.
No flash.
369 does have his, as well as the equalizer. Going to use it for the slow route. Crucially, not going to connect. Casual tack sweep. And Zeus will be able to walk away.
He still has 2 cookies.
Yeah, his wave was in a little bit of a rough spot, so the timing there was quite nice for Tien, but Zeus, good use of the passive there. Procs it, then gets his hook shot away, calmly walks out of danger. I feel a little bit bad for TES in that Mako had been the one to actually start out the good play, burning Guma's flash, but then the chain of events still going the way of T1. And they really managed that situation quite well, with Guma immediately resetting, going to the top side, and then getting the objective for themselves after them being the ones that got their extra summoner spell burned in the 2v2. And now on the flip side, T1 reset again, and they're gonna get the dragon as well. It's just, they keep on accruing the objectives here.
Camtech Drake means as well that the average value of the souls is going to go up slightly there. Do want to note, the gold lead still very manageable, and TS is sitting on double call. So once those are going to cash out, it's going to swing it back in favor of them as wave is being cleared there by Jackie. A little bit of damage on the Guma.
Do you think that TS will even be able to actually punish Guma while he doesn't have his flash up? I mean, Faker and Guma are the two ones that are opportunities right now, but 369 is getting a giant wave pushed in.
Faker might be the one in trouble now as Mako moves in. The flash forward, the Zenith Blade not going to connect. Now the ulti coming out. He's not going to be able to knock Tristana away. Cream walking away, standing. Good dive, but the response on the bottom side. 369 needs to back up. Permafrost, perfect layering on the combo, but 369 is still living. He has the wave as well. Zayas wants to go back in for the hookshot wall dive. Adaptive defense is fading away. Red buff ticking.
They're on the way!
TES incoming. Zayas, there should be no way out of this one. The recall. A hope, a dream, the flash as well. Maybe a bit ambitious. Mako! He doesn't know! He thinks he got out! The genius play! A perfect use of fog
Are you
of war!
kidding me? Secret Agent Zeus finds the escape, sticks in the fog of war, and fools them all. Let's not distract you from the fact it was a failed dive, though, for P1.
Oh, it was a disaster.
Owner went down, and that was a big play from 369, getting the extra cash there, defending the dive.
And on one hand, T1 knew that the mid lane play was happening, so they wanted to try and counterplay, but 369 also didn't have his ultimate, but they just didn't have the damage this early on.
Definitely big, though, for 369. You can tell, him versus
Gold.
T1, he constantly gets eliminated the last couple of years by T1. He has Zeus in his mind, so it could be a very big, mental play there. Having an extra kill on the Rumble will come up huge. It's a champion that in the mid game really has great potential to turn team fights, so we'll keep an eye on that one. Meanwhile, for the T1 side, they've done a very good job being very proactive in moving the Caitlyn around the map, constantly trying to shift over to the open tower so you can push in and try and get turret plate money. Guma got one off of the mid plate.
But crucial for TS that they were able to grab those kills, as well as the slight bit of additional gold coming in from the double coals, as you highlighted earlier, Chronicler, allowing them to even up the gold for now. Next grub spawn is going to be the focus. 20 seconds, resets onto the map from the side of T1, but you can see 369 is already in the river. TES likely to have first move, but T1, it looks like ready to fist fight for this objective.
And they have to. T1 is, oh, Faker.
On, the abduct going to connect.
That's a lot of damage though. Cream does have his TP available.
Zeus is on the tower, bottom side though. Camille getting rich could be a big problem for side lanes. Zeus looks like he was able to grab one turret plate, and Owner starting up those grubs.
In the
Here
jungle.
we go.
But he only needs one grub. If they TP in and Owner gets one, it still feels like a victory for T1 as they get the 4 grub buff. They cross that threshold. We see this so often. T1 don't need to stick around. Carry it here as well to throw down the portal. First grub down, TP, and they just walk away. They got what they came for.
That's going to be an opportunity for Zeus to shove the wave in. Camille's early wave clear, though, not going to be great, so I do think TES will be able to rotate. But with the composition that T1 has specifically, getting grubs is really big, because with Caitlyn, obviously, the Caesar's great, but ideally you want to try and play 1-4, 1-3-1, depending on how your solo laners are doing. And those extra grubs can make a really big difference in how quickly you can push down. And this, I think, is the problem. Like, early Camille, the wave clear just isn't really there.
Definitely not, but the extra time Zeus is happy to have, right? 1-2 items, this champion starts to feel impossible to lane against, and your strong point is 369, or was. Obviously Zeus picking up a lot of gold balances out that individual discrepancy, and you really want to, as TES, leverage this Rumble, but T1 just aren't giving them that straight up 5v5. You highlighted earlier, moving Guma around, avoiding that flash cooldown, but we'll see if they can maybe catch Faker here.
Look at this hover play from T1. Well, now with the sweeper, they are spotted out, but Carry and Owner had come to hover Faker. With similar thoughts there, allowing that side lane.
Forward goes down, likely they spot both Carrier and Owner. 369 finally knows that he has the freedom to push up in this 1v1. T1 setting up here, and again, last time they played, it was around the blue buff in TES's jungle. The massive fight that turned it back for TES. We'll see if T1 want to go for anything similar, want to put more pressure on the top side of the map.
A lot of vision being set up here for T1. Most of it should last when the Herald spawns. And with Caitlyn in particular, want to try and get those turrets down as soon as possible. Keep rotating, keep getting those plates. We'll see. Dragon in 40 seconds. Opportunity here for either team. I do think TES, they want to get that 5v5. We already mentioned. But with the 2 TPs from 369 and Cream being invested, we could see T1 either try and play around the teleport advantage or instead just go for the plates and try to accelerate the gold lead.
Looks like they've left 369 to push in that bottom wave, and they do
Tempered
get...
Fate's big. Cosmic Binding doesn't quite have the angle yet. Ulti coming in from the Caitlyn. Ult comes out from Owner as well. T1 fishing a little bit. They do manage to get the flash of Jackie Love, which will be big in the fight to come.
Already the Carrier Bard finding some value here. That ultimate, the main goal is to get summoner spells with it. And you mentioned Chronicler in Champion Select. Misfortunes in general have had a very tough time this tournament in being able to even look for areas to get their full channel off. Now with no flash, Jackie has to be so careful with his positioning.
And I mean, basically every single champion on the T1 lineup can just cancel that MF ulti. Guma probably the only one who can't do it quick enough for it to matter. So the perfect placement, the execution from TES has to be flawless. Bloodthirster going to make it a lot easier for Jackie Love to stay healthy, to keep pressure up in these lanes. But thus far, T1 very much dictating the pace of this game. TES have punished well once or twice to shut down some of that T1 aggression, but T1's completely in the driver's seat.
Very reminiscent of what we saw in the first game between these two teams. The timing here works out really nicely though for T1. There isn't really an opportunity for TES to rush the Herald, even though they did retake control of that area, have been able to put down a lot of wards there. Owner will be able to get the second Dragon here for T1. Hex stack. When you have a Caitlyn, a Camille, I mean, it's always going to have a lot of value, but to me, the most fun Rift as well. The rotational speed that was already there for that Bard, going to be even further accelerated. See how the teams are able to use it.
I love it. The zoom map here.
Oh, yeah.
We're just going to even further accelerate T1's map movements later into the game. And of course, that's an exciting point that we're looking forward to. You know, once these outer towers do start to drop, that's where you start to see a lot of these attempts at picks. And let me remind you, 369 versus Gen G was the matchup where his Rumble constantly got picked off in the side lanes, and people were very, very critical of it. So we'll see if TES can avoid that situation.
They're going to give it up, it looks like. Although they are moving over, T1 should be able to at least get control of the Herald. T1 on his way as well. And level 2 on the Rumble ultimate.
369 is coming.
You get to walk through the K-traps. Daisy going to lead the way. Mako just barely avoiding those traps.
No flash on Jackie.
Controlling the bushes there, but Daisy about to fade away. TES seem uncertain, but now they want to start the fight. Immediately the engage coming through. Ulti not going to connect. Full channel from Jackie Love, but everybody on T1 is still standing. Objective down. Owner secures it, and again, the discipline from T1. They won't get pulled into the fight. They got what they came for.
Carrier kind of absorbs right there the full engage and the channel of the Misfortune ultimate. Magical journeys himself out. The rest of T1 stay calm, finish the objective, and then leave. Because the objective, the Rift Herald, that tool to take down these towers and get them to the next step of their plan is what is key.
Baker spotted by the blue trinket. Again, Tien shadowing Cream this entire game, hoping to find the angle, but Carrier is here as well. Redemption coming in, a bit more damage onto Baker, a bit more healing for Cream. Baker needs to get the hell out. Nice Tempered Fate to buy some space. Cream not feeling confident enough to step any further forward, but with Mako on the way, that might change.
Yeah, the rest of TES coming over to try and follow the play. Should just be neutralized. This Baker's going to have teleport ready.
Well, has the empowered recall from the Herald, so just able to get full health, teleport back into the play, and TES are investing a lot of people here towards topside, not finding anything just yet.
Root, are they going to follow? Carrier able to make it back into the Krug's pit. And again, you can see TES. Tian is spending so much time grouping with Cream to try to shadow, to try to protect this Tristana, and we know 2-3 items. This is a champion that could take over the game. But in the interim, while we're waiting, it just feels like TES's ability to respond to T1 is so muted.
What we do need to address, though, is that, as mentioned, as expected, the gold lead basically has become even thanks to those culls now cashing out. And the gold, where it is better for TES. A lot of the gold that is on T1 in terms of leads is on Carrier, but not going to really be able to use that as well as some of the other members.
Yep. We've seen a lot of double AD carries plus Ivern throughout the recent meta, and know what the mid and late game of that do look like.
Zayas finding a surprise 369 waiting in the brush for him. Be forced to back off, but T1 was set up in the mid lane. Don't even need to drop the Herald again. 4 grub buff, a quick push out. And if TES aren't in position to respond, it's so easy for T1 to collapse. Ulti from Owner is there. T1 not certain if they like this fight, gonna start to back up Redemption. Now the ulti from Jack, you'll have incredible patience to chunk out Owner.
TP!
TES 369, this TP has to be big. They need to be able to find his kills, but it's interrupted by Zeus crucially. Off screen, the Camille taking 369 out of the equation. That could have been a disaster for T1.
Zeus used his ultimate for gap closer there as well, it looks like. Getting out alive after stopping the teleport. TS, though, they're immediately going to rotate on over. They still have the pushing wave on bottom side, so it did cost Zeus. It did cost T1.
But Zeus TP's top. He just wants to get a tower back. He doesn't even want to return bot lane, knowing they don't have priority, knowing they don't have control, using this Herald to knock down at least one tower, but potentially even two. All of TES in the meantime recalling, sending 3 members to that top lane to ensure that that does not happen.
Really good read from T1, because you actually read the play from TES. They were sending members towards bot to maybe punish a Zeus in case he did TP towards that bot lane turret. Not the case. Turret trade ends up going in favor of T1.
And this is so frustrating for TES. T1 are so slippery. Every time it feels like they've stayed maybe one extra wave. You can see Mako's just chasing, just running, but we're a second away from another magical journey, and the play will just fizzle.
So a lot of what this game is going to look like, especially as more of these outer towers do drop. TS here are keeping Mako on the top side to allow Cream to finish pushing.
Want to highlight as well that the fight we saw there with T1 trying to engage, and then Mako catching most of it, and then the counter mage is, I think, how TS wants most of the fights to look. The issue is, for that to really be a consistent strategy, you need to be first to the objective. And with how T1 have been moving around the map and generally been ahead of the play, it can be quite hard. This time, though, for this Dragon, they have the ideal setup. Mid-wave pushed out, everyone is in position, and this is where the entrenched Ivan can be really hard to root out.
Honestly, if I'm T1, I do not fight this Dragon.
Yep.
I do not face check this. I just try and get more side lane money onto Camille. My split pushing strategy is the best way to go for T1. Looks like they are going to try and get it for Zeus. I mean, they got the second charge off. How quickly could they get damage?
A lot of members
here?
on the way.
Ulti is there. They need to get Cream away from the wave if they want to push this. Carry going back over. Looks like T1 don't want to overcommit. Not quite 100% sure where the remaining members of TES are as Faker starts to push in bot lane, but I think it's a great call. The earlier Drakes from T1 give them the grace that they need, the space that they need not to contest that third Drake, which could have very well been a death sentence if that had been sole point for TES.
Yeah, they're looking for 2 items on Zeus. Well, let's see, creeping around here with the control ward.
Owner fishing for the ulti. Perfect buffer from Cream. Crucial, because that could have been the pick that started to break open the map. 20 minutes to Baron just spawning.
Speaking of 2 item power spikes, those double 80 carries with their double item power spikes. Let's see TES use this double 80 carry Ivern comp. It is up to Mako. Mako, the big play maker, the veteran here. One of many, but he's the one with the big useful tools on the Leona.
And look, he's on Bloodsong. He knows his job. They have to kill one of these priority targets. And you saw in that first fight, Carrier walked away from a full channel ML fault. It did not finish him, but with 2 items completed, I don't think that's going to be the case anymore.
Mako just clearing vision, making sure that there's no funny business around Baron. I don't know how much T1 loves to pull those. And the poking and prodding continues. Everyone on the way here from TES. This turret stands for now.
Zeus can't just poke, has to be willing to commit to the fight, but TES, 5 members here immediately going to tear through that tower. The power of the Tristana. T1 backing up, knowing that they have Faker on a side lane.
Yep, just keep trading. Faker going to get the last outer turret that TES had held on to, taken care of in exchange for their own top side turret. Solo gold here over to the Sylas. Let's see if that gets him to completion of the Cosmic Drive. And it does. Think it should be enough.
Recall goes through, Cosmic Drive completed. Again, that extra movement speed, the ability to stick on these targets, big. We'll see how far away Guma is from his second item spike as well. Zeus kind of, I think, desperate to finish.
Oh yeah,
his next item. Obviously, so often when it's split pushing, well, maybe not so often anymore, you talk about Hydra items, but instead, Sterix is just universally incredibly powerful, especially against a composition like this. So the sooner he gets it, the sooner he can start to threaten that backline, those double 80 carries.
Particularly for Camille, right? Like the scaling on your Q, the ability to go way deeper in fights, and the way that she already scales insanely well with levels, will make it a really strong 2-item spike. IE now done for Guma as well. Also a little bit behind on Jackie. And the edge, obviously, pretty expensive item, and the tension still building here. We haven't had a major team fight erupt, leading to a lot of kills, but the next Dragon might be where that starts.
And while we give credit to T1 for moving around the map, for avoiding this 5v5, it's starting to become an inevitability. You can see the brushes are set up. Cream has enough range, enough damage, but a beautiful Tempered Fate. No angle to set up on the stun, but now Zeus is going forward, getting a bit more back. Oh, double ultis coming in from the side. Owner burning down. Can they finish the kill? Flash out. TES using so much, but the jungler's out of the equation. Can they turn right back to the Baron? Do they have the damage and the time? Looks like instead, mid-tier 1 will be the option. The steady siege continues. Zeus may be hoping to find that flank, but with no ultimate available, he has to be careful. Faker trying to clear the wave, crucially dodges away from the root from Tien. The trap's not doing much of anything. The tower in mid will fall, but already Zeus on the top side of the map pushing in, looking to break open even more of the TES structures.
I love games like this, when you get one team trying to pull the other across the map, each one getting a tower here, but still the secondary ones here, so much more valuable for Zeus individually, and there's the completed Sterix.
And I do think now we've reached the point where TES, particularly with these 2 items on Ivern, they are so beefy. We see their T1 is like they're kind of fishing, you know, we're going in, Zeus maybe use an ultimate, but unless they fully commit, which I think they made the right call not to, because you can lose the game if that fight goes awry, it is really hard to do any meaningful damage. They did get Jekyll as summoner, the flash from him has been expelled, same for Zeus and Owner, but they have a lot more escape tools, particularly against that Bardal that we keep talking about. TES showing the sieging power of this composition. Now the Dragon, this time it's T1 that are first to the objective. We'll see if TES can retake that ground.
With Caitlyn always wanting to arrive really early, you see that line of traps here. T1 and Guma trying to funnel TES into having to come through this mid lane river brush where they have their control ward. By TES, brute force, they're gonna get in there, they clear out the ward.
Zeus inside, pushing.
Knowing they're more powerful. See Zeus on side, know that they have the 4v4, feel confident that they win it, run straight to mid, clear that wave. Now they have their access in, knowing T1 are going to be forced to catch that. TES don't feel confident to start the objective. 369 has to catch this wave on side. Last time he tried to TP in, it was canceled. Zeus this time, though, spotted on a ward, moving over. Likely means that TES know it's time to get out.
They spot him.
The threat of the flank is intimidating, and T1 will use that to start up the Dragon. How quickly can they burn?
New trap line. Tien, can he get into the pit? Trap there, stun there. They just want to burn the objective down. Tempered Fate as well. Keep the jungler out of the equation. T1 again. They don't want the fight. They're playing a clean macro game. They don't want it to be about kills at all. There's only 3, and we're 25 minutes in.
And that's salt point for T1. TES wanted so desperately to fight. Now turning towards that Baron.
Keria on his Bard, able to hit the ulti now. TES gonna force it on the Baron. They're gonna come though. T1 already on the way.
Oh, the damage.
This is such a hard 5v5 for T1. Owner locked up briefly. Chain CC there. There's the bullet time as well. Nice. Bit of CC coming from Faker, but he doesn't able to connect the stun. Cream already getting 1 kill onto Owner. TES though, blinking health bars. Ulti coming in from Guma. Good body block from 369, but it stops TES crucially from completing the objective.
You saw there, Zeus was standing ready to Ian if they did have an opportunity, but as long as TES pulls up the Baron, T1 wins that play, even giving up Owner.
TES though, I love this focus where whoever is furthest up, they're just going to use everything to burn your front line first. And we're getting so many of these full channel Jackie ultimates because he's standing so far back. They're just playing off of the most exposed target, and they do get 1 kill.
Also, we talked about T1 and how much they love Barons, but with double AD carry and a Rumble, Baron has got like...
Also, Ivern shielding, the risk of starting it is just not there.
Exactly, you can tank it for days. Main risk is the team fight, and TES I feel the same way. And I do think there's more of a timer on them now, because on the in 3.5 minutes, T1, if they get any map control, or if they're able to out-rotate, they can go for either objective and be happy, and that's not the case for TES.
You highlighted it earlier, Hextech Soul, I'm going to say the most devastating in the game.
It is nuts.
It is very strong. Not something you want to give to a team that is so happy to split up the map. So happy to take these isolated 1v1s as Zeus goes for just a bit of an extra trade there on the way out. And 369, again, I feels like this Rumble has been muted. It feels like T1 have danced around this pick so beautifully, and this is frustrating because you talked about 369 versus Zeus in isolation and what it means, but also for the series. If Rumble is not an effective pick for TES, that nerfs so many strats, so many drafts, so much preparation.
It's going to have to be TES forcing on objectives to try and get the front-to-back fight that they want versus T1. Meanwhile, T1 pressuring side points
There they go again.
Here is the force.
Willing to flip it, know that they have to, desperate to find the fight. They've already given up a tower, 650 gold, the cost of admittance to even get in this pit, delayed a bit.
There's the TP.
TP coming in from Zeus as well, grouping as 5, one angle, TES, can they find this one? Eyes on the ultimate of Jackie Love and 369. Daisy already falling away, however. T1 getting in just enough to bait them. Beautiful cosmic binding, follow-up, the equalizer stolen away. Owner immediately gonna follow. TES peeling back, but they're running out of space to maneuver with. Now the turn back, the bullet time, an equalizer of their own. Ulti coming in, Jackie Love about to fall. Carrier going over the wall, it's a little bit over eager. TES still standing, Jackie Love still standing, double lady carry. But Baker in the clutch, the arm guard, he goes golden, he buys a moment. TN perfect timing, but it does not matter because here comes Guma, baby. Doubles coming through, T1 takeover.
T1 with the patient team fighting. They run them off the Baron, and they're going to run straight into the base.
Mako's gonna be up, but he alone, I don't think, can clear the wave.
The waves are here, 28 minutes in, they don't need a Baron.
20 seconds.
They don't need a soul.
I don't think they have the time, but they at the very least are gonna get this inhibitor.
Knocking open the base, and this is crucial. This is infuriating for TES. We've seen so many teams fall. So many teams be baited in, get caught out by the team fight. Mako knows he needs to buy space, knows that he needs to buy time. Ignite ticking. T1 want the base. Will they stick around for a second tower? The wave a little bit far away.
Jackie's up in 2, Cream's up after that.
Crucially, the Rift, though, gives them a clean exit out. But they're behind on tempo. The Baron, the immediate rush from TES isn't an option. Perhaps their only counterplay.
On a ward here, but don't know if that's enough time. And it's the patience that you talked about. And here we see again, look how hard it is for T1 to get any meaningful damage onto TES. The healing from TN makes it really tough, but then the moment that equalizer comes down, the health bars slowly start to dwindle. The damage is there, Mako gets isolated, and it creates the space that T1 needed.
Honestly, beautiful stuff from Faker. As you say, stealing away the Rumble ultimate and putting it on their pathway. There goes TS, right back to the Baron.
They know.
This is desperation. If they lose this fight, they lose the game. There's a wave in mid lane that has not been tended to. Zeus coming over the wall. Immediate stun. 4K getting lower. Bullet time there. Beautiful Bard ultimate. Zeus now going to look to follow through. They have the damage. Cosmic binding is clean. Jackie Love down. Baron down. T1 get the fight to get the Baron. They're looking to take everything from Top Esports in game 1.
Owner does it again. He grabs the Baron, and T1 are going to chase down every single mammoth. Not Cream, not today!
And there's a flail hit, Scream in the head. T1 with the Baron buff. Gonna bring us to 1-0.
And this is the kind of game that you want to start a series with, this kind of momentum, this kind of confidence. This is a team that barely made it to Worlds, and they barely gave a chance for TES to play in this game 1. Outmaneuvered, outfought. Excellent so far, but it might not be over. They're still taking the soul. I don't think they're confident they can end.
It's almost unfair how T1 slump in summer and then show up at Worlds and look magnificent.
Okay, I really want to hammer home. It was not just the meta. Okay, they were on the ISO Faker missed shuffles on Azir. The fact that this team, at least in this first game, is able to showcase something that they didn't do for the entirety of summer is mind-boggling.
Zeus is even having fun. Parkour there at the end with the blast cone, just showing off the Camille hook shot. But here's another look at the Baron, and TS are forced into a bad spot. They know they have to just try and burn. Keria delays so long with the Bard ult. But look at this, as they can't burn it down quick enough, and so T1 press in for the team fight. Owner's even able to get the smite here, as there was an early one from the side of TES, and they just chase down all the extra kills. The real critical point, of course, was the previous Baron fight.
Of course.
And that put TES in such a rough position. And they chase them all down.
And again, that's a desperation move, but if they don't do that, they lose soul anyway. So they had to take that Hail Mary, but T1 again.
It's triple in it. Baron is still up for another minute. Look at that poke damage.
This gold lead insurmountable. The stolen equalizer doing more than even 369 could. Zeus walking up, hitting the tower, taking their time. T1 sights on the objective. Now taking the fight as well. T1 from start to finish in control of this game. One or two small hiccups, but they've been taking over thus far. Jackie trying to turn it back, a decent ultimate, but with the Nexus exposed, T1 don't look for the fight anymore. Happy to just take the game.
And TES, in this first game, took a big gamble. They picked away the Rumble from Zayas. I've always think it's more of a pick away because of 369's track record on the Rumble, right? Even in this tournament. And they go back to a composition that was insanely strong, but this is a blue side loss. And that is something that in the context of this series can come back to bite them.
Adaptation, mental fortitude, the name of the game for the side of TES. We'll have to see what they've got cooking up.